Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to remind you of a truth that is both comforting and empowering. God is standing by you through your difficult times. Life is a journey filled with ups and downs, moments of joy and moments of pain. One thing we all experience, no matter who we are or where we come from, is difficult times. There are moments when we face challenges that seem overwhelming, when the road ahead appears dark and uncertain, and when the weight of the world feels too heavy to carry. But it's important for us to recognize that these difficulties are not signs of failure. In fact, they are inevitable, and they hold the potential for something far greater than what we may initially see. Challenges are a part of life, whether it's the loss of a loved one, a financial setback, a broken relationship, or a health crisis. We all encounter seasons of struggle. The key is in how we respond to these challenges. We can choose to see them as obstacles, insurmountable barriers that define our lives and limit our potential, or we can choose to view them as opportunities for growth and development. The difference lies in our perspective. Struggles are not here to break us. They are opportunities for us to grow in strength, wisdom, and understanding. Each challenge is a chance to learn something new about ourselves, to uncover hidden depths of resilience, and to build the character that will serve us in the future. These moments of hardship can teach us patience, perseverance, and the importance of relying on something greater than ourselves. They remind us that we are not in control of everything, but we can control how we react to what happens in our lives. We often hear the phrase, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger." And while it may sound like a cliche, there is truth in it. Difficult times reveal our strength, not by showing us what we lack, but by demonstrating what we have within us when we press forward, even when the odds seem stacked against us. It's through these times that we truly discover who we are. We learn how deep our faith runs, how committed we are to our values, and how capable we are of handling what comes our way. God does not promise that life will be without difficulty. In fact, He often uses our struggles to shape us and to bring out the best in us. It is in the furnace of adversity that we are refined, purified, and made stronger. If we never faced any struggles, we would never know the full extent of our potential. It's like gold being refined in a fire. Only through the heat does it become pure and valuable. Similarly, through the trials and difficulties we face, we are shaped into the people God intends for us to be. When we face hardships, it's important not to become discouraged or disillusioned. It's natural to feel down or even question why things are happening to us. But we must remember that struggles are not the end of our story. They are part of the process of becoming who we are meant to be. God does not abandon us in our pain. Rather, He walks with us through it. His presence in the midst of our struggles is the greatest assurance we can have. As we face difficulties, it is essential to remember that God is standing by us through it all. He is not distant or indifferent to our pain. He is not a distant observer watching from afar. He is right there with us, holding us, comforting us, and providing the strength we need to persevere. When we feel like we can't go on, God is there, whispering His love and encouragement into our hearts. He sees the bigger picture when we can only see the moment in front of us. As we navigate through these seasons of hardship, we need to remember that these difficult times are part of God's plan for our lives. He has not abandoned us, nor has He left us to figure things out on our own. Every challenge, every struggle is an opportunity for us to rely more on Him, to trust in His timing, and to grow deeper in our faith. God does not waste our pain. He uses it to refine us, to draw us closer to Him, and to reveal His power in ways we may never have imagined. In moments of difficulty, it's easy to lose sight of the bigger picture. But if we shift our perspective, we begin to see that struggles are not obstacles to our success. They are stepping stones to our greatness. They are the moments that build the foundation for a life of strength, faith, and victory. God does not stand by idly as we face trials. He is actively working on our behalf, shaping our character, preparing us for the next phase of our journey. When we learn to view our difficulties as stepping stones, we stop seeing them as insurmountable barriers and start seeing them as opportunities to grow, learn, and become stronger. The challenges you face today are preparing you for the victories of tomorrow. They are not here to defeat you. They are here to refine you, to strengthen you, and to propel you forward. God is standing by you, even when the road ahead seems uncertain. Trust in His presence. Trust in His plan. And know that through every trial, you are becoming the person He created you to be. In our lives, there will be moments when the weight of the world feels unbearable. Adversity can sometimes bring us to the edge, where every step seems harder than the last, and every breath feels like a struggle. It is during these times of hardship that we often wonder where God is. In our darkest moments, it can seem like He is far away, distant, perhaps even silent. But I am here to remind you of something powerful. God is never distant in our struggles. In fact, He is always with us. The idea that God is close to us, especially when we are in the midst of suffering, is not just a comforting thought or an abstract idea. It is a promise. His presence is a guarantee. In the Bible, God assures us time and again that He will never leave us or forsake us. He doesn't stand at a distance, watching from afar, waiting for us to figure things out on our own. He walks with us. Psalm 23:4 says, "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me." These words are a reminder that even when we are walking through the deepest, darkest valleys of life, God is there with us. He is not absent. His presence is with us, guiding us, comforting us, and providing us with everything we need to navigate the journey ahead. This is not just a theological concept to hold on to in theory, but a reality that we must experience in our lives. God's presence is not a promise for the good times only. It is a promise for the difficult times, the moments of heartache, confusion, and pain. He is not waiting for us to get our act together or to have everything figured out before He steps in. In fact, it's precisely when we feel lost and alone that God draws closest to us. When you are going through a trial, you may not always feel His presence in the way you expect, but that does not mean He is not there. Sometimes God's presence is not felt in the obvious dramatic moments, but in the quiet strength that rises within you when you feel like giving up. It's in the stillness of your heart, in the subtle reminders that you are not alone, in the unexpected moments of peace that transcend understanding. Jesus promised us in Matthew 28:20, "And surely I am with you always to the very end of the age." This promise is not conditional on our circumstances. It doesn't depend on how we feel or what's happening around us. He is always with us, even when we are facing the hardest moments of our lives. His presence is not a fleeting experience. It is constant. He is there in the quiet, in the struggle, and in the pain, walking beside us every step of the way. This is a powerful truth. God's presence in our struggles is not dependent on our perception of it. Even when we feel overwhelmed or as though God is absent, His presence remains. He is walking with us through it all, whether we recognize it in the moment or not. In times of difficulty, we are often more prone to focus on the problem, on the weight of our circumstances, rather than on the one who is right there with us. But we are never truly alone. In every heartache, in every trial, God is walking beside us, offering His strength, His peace, and His comfort. The beauty of God's presence is that it is not just about feeling good in the moment. It is about knowing deep in your spirit that God is with you. His presence is there to help you face whatever comes your way. I want you to understand that God is not standing far off in the distance, waiting for you to figure it out. He is right there. You are not walking through this alone. God's presence is not a theory. It is a living, breathing reality that sustains you when you feel weak. His presence is the very thing that strengthens your resolve, gives you peace in the midst of chaos, and assures you that no matter how dark the valley, the light of His love will never leave you. There is no place you can go where God's presence cannot reach you. His love is deeper than any struggle, and His faithfulness is greater than any trial. He will never forsake you. His presence is not just a comfort, it is a source of power, hope, and restoration. So when the storms of life come, and when the journey gets rough, remember this: God is walking with you through it all. His presence is a promise, and that promise will never fail. Faith is the cornerstone of our relationship with God. It is not merely a passive belief, but a dynamic, active force that shapes the way we live, the way we respond to challenges, and the way we experience God's work in our lives. In the midst of adversity, faith becomes the lens through which we view our circumstances and the strength that propels us forward. Without faith, it becomes difficult to trust that God has a purpose for our lives, especially when the road is rough and the future is uncertain. Faith is the foundation that allows us to stand firm when everything around us seems to be shaking. When we face trials, it is easy to be overwhelmed by fear, doubt, and confusion. The pain can cloud our vision, and the weight of the struggle can make us question everything we once believed. But faith is the force that holds us steady when everything else seems unstable. It is the trust that, no matter how difficult the journey, God has a plan for us, and His plan is always for our good. God has a purpose for every life. He is not a God who sits idly by, allowing things to happen by chance. The trials we face are not the result of random forces or cruel fate. God is in control. Even when things seem out of our hands, faith enables us to trust that God is still at work, weaving His plan through every moment of our lives. This trust is not built on what we can see or understand, but on the belief that God's wisdom far surpasses our own. When we cannot see the way forward, faith enables us to trust that God can and will lead us through. Faith is more than just believing in God's existence. It's believing in His character and His promises. It's trusting that He will keep His word, even when everything around us screams otherwise. Hebrews 11:1 says, "Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen." Faith allows us to hold on to the promises of God even when we can't see the fulfillment of those promises yet. It anchors our soul in the unseen realm where God is working on our behalf, even when we are unaware. Faith does not make us passive observers of life's challenges. It is not a waiting game, hoping that things will magically get better on their own. Faith is an active force that compels us to act in accordance with God's will, to step forward with confidence even when the path is unclear. It calls us to trust that, although we may not have all the answers, God's plan is always better than anything we could devise on our own. Faith moves us to speak words of hope when despair is trying to take over. It moves us to keep walking when every part of us wants to stop. It enables us to reach out to others when we're hurting, knowing that God's love is powerful enough to heal and restore. Faith pushes us to take the next step even when we don't know exactly where it will lead. It propels us toward breakthrough by shifting our focus from our circumstances to the power of God to transform those circumstances. One of the most powerful aspects of faith is that it is built on the foundation of trust. Trusting God means knowing that He is always good, always faithful, and always working for our best interests, even when we cannot see it in the moment. Faith isn't a blind leap into the unknown. It's a deliberate choice to trust in the one who holds the future. And this trust is not a one-time decision. It is something we must cultivate daily, choosing to trust God with every aspect of our lives. When we face trials, our faith is tested. It is easy to believe when everything is going well, when the sun is shining and the road is smooth. But true faith is forged in the fire of adversity. It is in these moments that we must remind ourselves of the promises of God, hold on to them with all our might, and trust that He is working even when we can't see it. Faith is not a feeling, it is a conviction. It's an assurance that God is at work in ways we cannot yet comprehend. Faith is the foundation that carries us through life's hardest moments, knowing that our God is faithful and He has a plan for our lives. When the trials seem insurmountable, faith assures us that God is bigger than our circumstances. It gives us the courage to keep moving forward when everything else seems to be falling apart. Faith is the fuel that powers us through the toughest seasons of life, knowing that breakthrough is on the other side of every challenge. In conclusion, faith is not just the foundation of our relationship with God. It is the active force that keeps us moving forward in the face of adversity. When everything around us seems uncertain, faith reminds us that God has a plan, and that plan is always for our good. As we cultivate our faith, we grow in our trust in God, and we begin to see His work in our lives, even in the midst of our struggles. Faith enables us to stand firm, trust His promises, and walk confidently toward the breakthrough He has prepared for us. There is a truth that we must hold on to, especially during times of adversity. God has already placed within us the strength to overcome anything that comes our way. It's easy to believe that when we are faced with challenges, we are somehow ill-equipped or lacking the ability to handle what life throws at us. We might feel weak, overwhelmed, or incapable of overcoming the obstacles in our path. But the truth is, the strength we need to face our struggles has already been given to us. It's not about what we lack. It's about recognizing and activating the power that is already within us through God's grace. God does not ask us to face life's challenges on our own. He does not leave us to navigate the storms without equipping us for the journey. In fact, He has already provided everything we need to walk through the trials we encounter. The key is understanding that the strength to overcome, to rise above, and to persevere is already inside of us. It is not something we need to look for or wait to receive. It is already there, waiting to be activated. When we face difficulties, our first instinct may be to focus on what we don't have. We might look at our circumstances and feel that we are lacking the resources, the knowledge, or the support to succeed. But God's word reminds us that our strength is not found in our own abilities, but in the power He has placed inside of us. In 2 Corinthians 12:9, Paul writes, "But He said to me, 'My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness.'" It is in those moments of weakness, those moments when we feel like we don't have enough, that God's strength is made perfect in us. His grace empowers us to do what we cannot do on our own. Too often we forget that the Holy Spirit lives inside of us, and through Him we have access to a supernatural strength that is greater than anything we can muster on our own. This is not just a spiritual truth, it is a practical reality. The Spirit of God enables us to face challenges with a strength that transcends human limitations. It is His power, not ours, that empowers us to rise above our struggles and overcome the difficulties in our lives. It's important to understand that this strength is not just about physical endurance or mental toughness. While those qualities are important, the strength that God provides is a deeper, spiritual strength that allows us to persevere, even when we feel like giving up. It is a strength of character, a strength of heart, and a strength of faith that comes from knowing that God is with us, that He is for us, and that He has already provided everything we need to succeed. This strength is not something we have to summon or create. It is something that we simply need to recognize and activate. The moment we place our trust in God, we begin to tap into the reservoir of strength He has already provided. When we face challenges, rather than focusing on what we lack, we can choose to focus on the strength that God has already placed within us. We can choose to activate that power through faith, prayer, and obedience, trusting that God will provide the courage, wisdom, and endurance we need to overcome. This recognition of the strength within us is key to overcoming the difficulties we face. Often, the battle we fight is not against external forces, but against our own thoughts, fears, and doubts. We question whether we have what it takes to make it through. But we must remind ourselves that God has already placed everything we need inside of us. It's not about what we lack. It's about recognizing that the power of the Holy Spirit is in us. And with that power, we are more than capable of facing whatever comes our way. The Apostle Paul in Philippians 4:13 declared, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." This is not just a statement of belief. It is a declaration of the truth that we have access to Christ's strength. When we rely on Him, when we trust in His power, we are able to do what we thought was impossible. We are able to endure hardship, to rise above challenges, and to stand firm, knowing that the strength we need is not found in ourselves, but in God. In every season of life, God has already given us what we need to overcome. We are not lacking. We have the power to overcome every obstacle, to endure every trial, and to emerge victorious on the other side. God's strength is in us, and it is in Him that we find the ability to stand strong, to keep moving forward, and to rise above our circumstances. As you face the challenges of life, remember this: you are not weak, you are not lacking. You have within you the strength of God's grace. It is not about what you don't have, but about recognizing and activating the power that has already been given to you. Trust in that strength. Step forward in faith and know that you can overcome anything that comes your way because the power of God is already working in you. In the midst of our trials, it is easy to become discouraged and lose hope, especially when the road ahead seems long and filled with uncertainty. We may wonder when the struggle will end, when the breakthrough will come, or if we will ever see victory over the challenges we face. But in those moments, it is vital to remember this truth. Victory is assured in God's timing. God's timing is never wrong, never rushed, and never delayed. Though we may want immediate answers or quick solutions, God knows exactly when and how to act, and His timing is always perfect. He sees the bigger picture when we are focused on the moment, and His plans for our lives are never subject to chance or circumstance. God is working behind the scenes, orchestrating everything for your good, even when you cannot see it yet. One of the most difficult aspects of going through seasons of difficulty is the waiting. The waiting can be painful, frustrating, and exhausting. We want to see results now. But God's word reassures us that waiting is not wasted time. In Romans 8:28, the Bible tells us, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." Every trial, every moment of suffering, and every season of waiting is being used by God to bring about something greater than we can understand in the moment. God is working all things together for your good, even if the process is not clear to us right now. When we are in the middle of a storm, it is easy to focus only on the pain, on the uncertainty, and on the fear of what lies ahead. But God's promises are true, and He is faithful. What He has promised, He will fulfill in His perfect time. The victory is not a matter of if, but when. The promises of God over your life are guaranteed, and no matter how long the season of difficulty may last, you can trust that God will bring you through it. The victory may not always come when we expect it, but it will come, and it will be worth the wait. God's timing is never based on our own understanding or our limited view of the situation. We may think that we are ready for a breakthrough, but God sees the full picture, including the lessons we need to learn and the growth we need to experience in the process. God's delays are not denials. Just because it seems like the breakthrough is taking longer than expected doesn't mean it is never coming. God's delays are designed to build our character, strengthen our faith, and prepare us for what is to come. He is not withholding your victory. He is preparing you for it. Think about the lives of people in the Bible who had to wait on God's perfect timing. Abraham waited for the promise of a son for many years, but in the end, God's promise was fulfilled. Joseph went through years of hardship and imprisonment before he was placed in a position of authority. David was anointed as king long before he actually became king. And during the years of waiting, God was preparing him. In every case, God's timing was perfect. Even when the path seemed uncertain or the wait seemed long, the victory came at just the right time. God is working in your life in the same way. The victory is assured even if the path seems unclear or the struggles feel unending. You may be facing difficult circumstances today, but know that God has already ordained the victory in your life. He is working all things together for your good, and when the time is right, you will see the fruit of His faithfulness. It's important to remember that our timing is not the same as God's. We often want things to happen on our schedule, according to our plans, but God knows the perfect time to act. The victory that is coming to you will be much sweeter and more powerful because it will come in His perfect timing. God is not bound by time, and He sees the end from the beginning. So, when you feel weary from waiting or uncertain about what's ahead, take comfort in the knowledge that your victory is already secured. The path may be long, but the end is assured. And it is a path that leads to victory. When we trust in God's timing, we demonstrate faith in His perfect plan. Even when the burden feels heavy, even when the waiting seems unbearable, we can rest in the truth that God's promises are unwavering and His faithfulness endures forever. Your victory is not dependent on the timing of your circumstances. but on the unwavering faithfulness of God. He will bring you through this season, and when you emerge, you will see how perfectly He worked everything together for your good. Trust that God knows the best time to bring your breakthrough. His promises are true, His love for you is constant, and your victory is assured in His timing. Hold on, keep trusting, and know that the victory you are waiting for is coming, and it will be worth every moment of the wait. As we reflect on the journey through difficult times, we must remember this one undeniable truth. God is with us every step of the way. The struggles we face are not signs of abandonment, but opportunities for growth, strengthening, and divine alignment. We are not powerless in the face of adversity, because God has already placed within us everything we need to overcome. His strength, His grace, His wisdom, they are all readily available to us, waiting to be activated through our faith. When the weight of the world feels heavy, when the road seems uncertain, let us hold firm to the knowledge that God's timing is perfect. Victory is already assured in His divine plan. It is not a matter of if but when, and when it comes, it will come with such power, clarity, and purpose that we will see the hand of God at work, even in the darkest of times. His promises are not fickle, nor are His plans ever thwarted. Victory is a guarantee for those who trust in His perfect timing. Understand, beloved, that we are not victims of our circumstances, but victors through Christ who strengthens us. The path may be long, the weight may seem unbearable, but God has a purpose in everything. His promises are true, His faithfulness is unshakable, and in the end we will emerge stronger, wiser, and more powerful than we ever imagined. So, walk in faith, stand in His strength, and trust in the reality that the victory is already yours. God is standing by you, His presence will never fail you, His strength is within you, and His timing is always right. Keep pressing forward, because the best is yet to come. Your breakthrough is on the way, and your victory is assured. Embrace it with unwavering faith and bold confidence, for God is truly with you, and He is more than enough to see you through.